Before I did 1844, I did the better part of valor scenario from the Battle of Pelium. Now this is the night attack, and we use the same values. Macedonians have a 30 route value, tribals have an 80. Same kind of turn limit. Macedonians have 10 turns to do what they need to do, but here they need to rout the tribals. But they have an advantage. First of all, the tribals are all clustered together on the lowlands. The Macedonians are prepared to attack. They have their full force. They have, which is pretty much the same forces they had before, except they have a few more companions with them. I think it's 3 extra companion cavalry, which is a pretty hefty addition. What they don't have in its place, though, I think they had some light cav, didn't they? They had a Paeonian light cav, and that is no longer present. So there may be some other things that are not here that they've left guarding the camp or whatever, or maybe those guys got killed. Anyway, we failed completely in the withdrawal, but we did cheat a little bit in favor of the tribals. We gave them slightly higher quality, better units. So they had Libyan veterans, I believe, instead of their tribal veterans, or their tribal medium infantry. Now we've got them back to what they're supposed to have. This is not supposed to be a balanced scenario. Because it's nighttime and it's a surprise attack, they have some advantages. First of all, the Illyrians, that's the tribals, can't move, shock, or fire until at least one of their units is attacked, shocked, or missile on. Once this happens, then we drop back and the tribals get to take all their turns that have been missed. But immediately after the initial attack takes place, each of the tribal leaders has to make a roll for activation against their initiative rating. And if they fail, they're finished for that turn. They may not attempt momentum, the tribals, anytime during the night. Yeah, that is going to cause real problems because they have so many troops. And all the missile units can only do missile attacks at 1 hex, and they get a penalty of 1 to the direwolf. And that's about it. The tribals win if they break the Macedonians, or if they can last without breaking for 10 turns. Which, you know, if you could run away and kind of hide from them, but there's no place to hide. So Alexander moves his forces forward in preparation for an attack. One of the problems is the heavy cav isn't terribly good against the light infantry. They're not a light infantry peltist, so they don't have the defender superior bonus and all that. But the only thing I'm really going to be relying on with the companions is their big 8 value, unless I can get mobility. And the problem with that is Alexander is the only commander who operates on his own. The others are wing commanders who can reduce his costs and move things. And that's all well and fine, but they all have to be pretty close. It basically has, because they're half range, basically he has to have everything kind of within range he could command anyway. So there's not really an advantage there. They do extend how many units he can move. And now I've used my elite initiative, and that allowed me to jump to my real turn and use that. I got a momentum, and now the question is, do I use that momentum to attack, or do I use it to maybe rally a few units and prepare my attack a little better for next turn? And I think I'm going to do the latter, simply because I don't really like the idea of triggering an activation for each of their 3 leaders, or possible activation for each of their 3 leaders, when I'm not getting my full 3 activations on really being able to hit him. And the first strike basically routs the front line largely. These no missiles, those are tribals that have held mainly against the companions, where they weren't attacker or defender inferior. That was the elite initiative. I'm not quite sure whether, I don't believe that Alexander could have just taken his turn and then take 2 momentums and finish wiping out the rest of the army. I also had thoughts of, well, I'd like to be able to react. They probably won't get everybody, won't be able to do much, and much of their army is routing off the board, so they really kind of have to rally it. I think no matter which way you played this, it's going to be pretty extreme in favor of the Macedonians, though. It's a kind of ridiculous scenario. And that's why the other one is the more balanced, playable scenario. This is really kind of a cakewalk for the Macedonians. So now we make checks on each of the tribal leaders to see if they're just finished, like this guy, and can't do anything on this first turn. Oh, somebody gets to react. All right. So we have one reaction, and remember, they don't get momentums, so it's going to be kind of hard to get much done. Basically, what I felt like I had to do was try to rally units. 3 out of 4 rallied units ended up off board, 15 points already in the bank. I'm just not sure that there's anything that can be done by the tribals. This is really kind of a pointless scenario, but hey, if you got the map, you might as well play it. You might as well add it to the game. It's only, you know, this little extra part. After the first follow-up after that first hit, I still get 1 momentum chance. Let's see if I make it. Yeah, I'm going to get that momentum. You can see the lines busted up a little bit more, but as sort of a moral victory, the tribals have routed one of the Hypastists, which, you know, I don't know how much more you can expect out of this. You can see they're just vaporizing everywhere. I'm not sure. The town, I haven't looked to see what the hell that does. Usually those are pretty invulnerable. But the key here is winning the field battle. Oh, shit. This looks like maybe I'm losing. I'm just worried that that's paper that's melting here as opposed to who knows what. I don't know. I just really hate that the paper, this weird glossy stuff, actually seems to, when it's facing high heat or whatever and a little bit of moisture, just fall apart. And unfortunately, there's a tendency for moisture on my table in small quantities, like a drip of sweat or something, and it just dissolves it, but it doesn't seem to be what that is. I don't know where that's from. Anyway, so now Alexander has to make the choice of rallying, you know, or improving the, I don't remember what the right term is. It's not rallying, it's something else. It's basically reforming your units and getting their tactical quality levels back up. Given that there are 60 points here, and most of these units are going to route off the map with nothing that can be done, I see 5, 10, 15, 25 more points. That's going to be the 85 points, so it's essentially over. So I'm going to try to dress my lines rather than seek another round of combat necessarily. I don't see pushing things any further when I've got victory in the bag, so I don't have to declare an attack here, for example. Given that situation, I don't see going through the mechanism of actually playing out the rest of it. That's it. And that took 2 turns, not the 10. I mean, it would be pretty hard to use the 10 up. And I think in the other scenario, even though I wasn't keeping track of time, I think it would be pretty hard for that time limit to come into play. Unless you decided to try to fight the battle as Alexander and then turn around and decide, well, I can't fight anymore. Let me see if I can get off the board in time. All right, let's send this one up. Tiny, tiny little thing.